So tonight is a special night. Tonight is the yard site of the Baal Tanya, of the Alter Rebbe. And we know that on the yard site of a tzaddik, there's a special light that comes down. And are you planning on killing somebody in the class after? No? Okay. So, Bezat Hashem, we should connect to the tzaddik, like we learned from Rabbeinu, and we should draw down his light. I'll tell you a quick story about him, just to get a little bit inspired by his greatness. He had children, right? And he had a daughter, her name was Devorah Leah. She was a very holy woman. There's very few times that you hear the stories of the Tzaddikim's children that are, let's say, their daughters that weren't necessarily rabbis or rebbitzins or whatever, but there's a very famous story about her that it was around Rosh Hashanah time, and the Baal Tanya, through his Ruach HaKodesh, began to intuit that his life was going to end soon. And he had just begun spreading the Chassidus of the Baal Shem Tov, and he had created the whole Chabad system. It was before anybody knew who they were, and it had yet to take off. But when a person wants to reveal a lot of light in this world, he's at danger. This is why Rav Nachman passed away early, why the Ramchal passed away early, why the Arizal passed away early, because the Klipot, they do not want that light in the world. And the Baal Tanya thought he was going to suffer the same fate. He was sure, actually. And his daughter caught wind of this. She was a very holy woman. And she came to this Beit Knesset, or this Beit Midrash, where there's a few big tzaddikim, or three big tzaddikim. She said to them, she was crying, and she said, "My father thinks he's going to pass away, and I'm here to give up my life for his. And I want you guys three to form a Beit Din and to agree that my father's life should extend and my life should be taken for his." They're like, wow, this is intense. And I don't know if we're capable of even, of approving this. I don't, would your dad even want you to do such a thing? We don't know, right? So they got together and they said, we need to think about it. They thought about it. They came back. They said, you know what? Only the daughter would know what the father wants best. And they agreed. And she started to cry. And she said, you don't know the light that my father's holding and how many people he's going to help. And I know. So this is my way of having a chelik in his Torah. He's a very holy person. I mean, I don't know who speaks like that, especially a daughter of a father, whatever. I think she was in her teens, maybe late teens, early 20s. I'm not sure. So they agreed. That Rosh Hashanah, which came up right after that, he used to pray by himself. It's for another time how we're going to explain that, but he used to pray by himself in his room. And on Rosh Hashanah, he came out of his room and he looked around and he said, "Where's Devorah Leah?" He didn't know anything about this. He just asked, "Where's Devorah Leah?"
From Shemaim, they didn't tell him what's going on.
Right, so then I guess he figured it out.
Dude, relax.
Yeah. Just wait for them. Came out and
The midrash or is it real?
this is real. This is a real thing that happened. This is what happened to the person that passed away today. So we're telling over a true story about him. His daughter got very, very sick that day, and she had passed away within that week. She was not sick her whole life. She was healthy her whole entire life, and within that week she passed away. The Baal Tanya lived longer, and he began Chabad Chassidus. And we know that millions of people have been affected by Chabad Chassidut and the light that is shown because of him. And I know me personally as a Baal Tshuva was very affected by Chabad teachings, especially in the beginning, and coming to appreciate them more now and trying to integrate them with Rabbeinu's teachings. But either way, nobody can deny he opened up a new path in Chassidus. He had a completely revolutionary take on the Baal Shem Tov's teachings. And Breslov came around the same time, a little bit after, but they were contemporaries. They were actually friends, him and the Baal Tanya.
Chassidut is one thing, Chabad, Breslov, same thing, right?
So Chassidut is the Baal Shem Tov's teachings, and it came from him to the Maggid of Mezrich. By the way, Hasidic history is very, very interesting. It came to the Maggid of Mezrich. He was the unquestioned leader. He was passing down the teachings. He was a genius in and of himself. And he taught the Balatanya, he taught the Noam Elimelech. He had like all of these unbelievable tzaddikim were his students. And the third generation began to take his teachings and making their own derech with it. Meaning it became more interpersonal, it became more of their own thing, where each of themselves began to kind of filter into the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. And they came up with very different systems. The Noam Elimelech's Torah is very different than the Baal Tanya, and the Baal Tanya's Torah is on a whole different world than Rabbi Nachman's Torah. It's in a completely different place. So how that ends up in different places, the answer is 70 facets of the Torah. Right? The Baal Shem Tov's Torah was a messianic Torah, and so therefore it has to have 70 facets as well, and it did. We have many different, we have Sans, we have Kotsk, and we have, where do you pray? Satmar, right? We have many different, okay, but we have many different, there's many different types of forms of Chassidus. They all have beautiful value. We are all very different. Some people stress truth. Some people stress fear of Hashem. Some people stress love of Hashem. Some people stress the Veikut. Some people stress Bittul, right? Everybody takes another, like, one of the Baal Shem Tov's focuses and just really narrows in and focuses on that one thing. Okay.
What does he stress?
Who, Rav Nachman?
Yeah, what makes Rav Nachman different than all the other sections? Meaning,
Rav Nachman for sure focused the most on Hipodadut. He was not unique in his focus on the tzaddik, although he was unique in his approach that there would not be another Rebbe after him. Right? There was every other Chassidus, group of Chassidus, it ended up being that whoever was the tzaddik, right, his son would then come and take the reign. But by Rav Nachman, it didn't make much sense to him, because either this guy's the tzaddik, the next one's the tzaddik, or he's not the tzaddik. It doesn't matter if he's my son, he's not my son, whatever. And Rav Nachman said at the end of his life, I want my students to make many students, implying nobody's going to be the Rebbe after this. So for a long time, Breslov was called the Chassidus of the dead Rebbe, because it was the only Chassidus that followed a dead rabbi for hundreds of years. Now, obviously, right. So anyway, there's a lot of ways Breslov is different. But the truth is, if you look at the Baal Shem Tov's teachings, they're probably the closest to his teachings in their original form. Right? The Tanya is very different than the Baal Shem Tov's teachings. So, okay, good. So anyway, Bezrat Hashem, we should have the schut of the Baal Tanya with us tonight as we go through this Torah. We're going to start with Likutei Halachot, right? We started discussing how really the phase and the stages of prayer that you have in the morning is corresponding to the different spiritual concepts that we're working with, such as finding the good points, those good points becoming a song. This is what we've discussed so far. You'll notice we start with Korbanot. We said the essence of Korbanot is Birur. Birur means you separate the good from the bad. So we're connecting it to the Torah that we just learned last week, which we finished, where the essence of everything is to find the good. To be able to look and to search for the good. This is also connected to the first Torah we learned in Likutei Moharan. And we see that we do this with Korbanot. Because what do? We have the animal, they shechted the animal, and then the spark of godliness that fell from you when you did the sin, it's then lifted up. So you see the Korbanot, the whole purpose of Korbanot is to find the good. Second stage, we have Pesuki de Zimra. What did Rav Nachman say? The Kohen did the Korban because the Kohen sees the good. Then the Levi'im, they sang. How did they sing? From the good points. They took all the good points that the Kohanim brought up and they made a song out of it. So that's Pesuki de Zimra. That's the songs that we sing every morning. Now we're going to learn about the next part. So he says here like this. Next we recite the brachot of Kriyat Shema. So what is this? So here we're blessing Hashem on the Chidush Maaseh Bereshit. And the Chidush, on the novelty of the new creation of the universe. Shem Chadesh B'Tuvo B'Chol Yom Tamid. That he constantly is recreating this at every single moment. Zeh Bechinat Maaseh Mishkan. This is the concept of the Mishkan. Shenivneh me'atov, which was created from all of the good, right? All the Jews brought their piece of whatever they had to offer to Moshe. He's the tzaddik. The tzaddik took all of those good pieces and he created the Mishkan. Meaning physically, yeah, they brought a physical thing. But there's a spiritual Mishkan. What's the spiritual Mishkan? Moshe, the tzaddik, is taking the good in every Jew and he's bringing it out. And he's elevating it, and he's making a unity out of all of it. That's called the Mishkan. And that's the dwelling place of the Shekhinah. He dwells with the good in every Jew. And only Moshe is capable of doing this. So this is the Mishkan. Now interestingly, the Zohar says that the Mishkan was designed on the inside like the universe when Hashem created it. It's unbelievable. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? The Mishkan, so to speak, is a mini creation of the world. However Hashem created the world, that's how Moshe created the Mishkan. And we're learning how did Moshe create the Mishkan? By taking the good of all the Jews. Okay? What do we learn about the beginning of creation? Hashem, there was darkness. And then Hashem separated the light from the dark and He created the world. So it's the same process. So what are we saying when we do the tefillah for the Kriyat Shema? It says this is the ikar, this is the tikkun of tefillah. Because the pasuk in Yeshaya says, Kiveti beit tefillah. My house is the house of tefillah, meaning the Beit HaMikdash, meaning the Mishkan. Yikareh lecho amim, that all the nations of the world are going to come and they're going to speak to me. Ne'um Hashem Elokim mikabetz lichei Yisrael, where I'm going to gather all the outskirts, right? I'm going to gather in all the Jews and bring them back to my home to speak to me. So he says, Ki ikar binyan ha-Beit HaMikdash, because the essence of the building of the Beit HaMikdash, hu ayedei Hashem yiparach mikabetz nichei Yisrael. It's through Hashem gathering all the good points. It's a very deep thing. What Rav Natan is saying is that we are the good points of creation.
That's why Hashem saw us.
That the Jews are the good points of creation, and Hashem, so to speak, has to go into the darkness of the world and to gather us up and to look for the good, to look for us and to gather and bring it all into one place, and that is called Beit HaMikdash. That is called the Mishkan. U'ayedei shemotzi gam banidachem va'avdim nekuda tovot. His finding of the good points, even in the outcasts, even in those who have gone astray, especially those who are far from Hashem, meaning all of us sitting at the table. All of those who began so far from Hashem, especially their good point. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says this very clearly, that the Beit HaMikdash is going to be built off the crazies, meaning those who are furthest from Hashem. So to speak, it's our good point which is descended furthest into the darkness, which is the greatest good that's going to build the Beit HaMikdash at the end. And through this good that is gathered up from those who are furthest from Hashem, biat hagoel, this is going to bring the Mashiach. It's that itself. It's a very deep point we're learning right here. What is going to bring the Mashiach? When all of the secular Jews, all of those Jews who are furthest from Hashem, with the physical health issues, with the mental health issues, the ones who are oppressed, the ones who are outcasts, the ones who we look at as crazy or not normal, when those people come back, that's the ultimate revelation of good in the darkness, and that brings the Mashiach. And through this we're going to build the Beit HaMikdash. And that's why it says, Hahar Tovazeh, on this good mountain. Why is it called the good mountain? V'sham ikar tikun tefillah, because that's the place where all the good is gathered, on that mountain. Ki ikar tefillah, because the essence of tefillah is through the good that's found in the tefillah. Right? What do we say is the reason we struggle to pray? Because we have not found the good in our life. You're still harboring some negativity. You're still harboring some attachment to the darkness in your life. You're not letting go. And you're not finding God in it. You're not finding the good in it. And because of that, you do not have the motivation, you don't have the strength, and your words don't have the power to be heard. But when you find the good in your life and in everything in your life, then your words have power.
Is that why we start off in Bordeaux by saying thank you?
Yes, that's exactly why we say thank you. You're finding the good points, and that's establishing your ability to pray. because that's the essence of prayer. You can't pray until you do this. And we're going to learn that's why we do the Amidah after this. Right? We're going to see this in a second, in this whole process. We find the good points, we make a song out of it, then we build a Beit HaMikdash, which is the place of prayer, and then we start to say the Amidah. It's on purpose like this, because this is what's giving you the ability to pray and be heard, is those first three steps. Therefore, before you pray, Omrim Korbanot, you say Korbanot, you say Pasukei de Zimra, Shemvarin Nukudo Tovot, and you are extracting the good points. And from there you're making songs. Through that you're creating, so to speak, a spiritual mishkan where you're standing. Shesham ikar tikun tefillah, and this is the essence of the tefillah. V'zeh bechinat birkot kirat shema, and this is the blessings of the kriyat shema. Shehem bechinat heichalot kedusha. It's the concept of building a heichal, of building a chamber of only kedusha. Bechinat the mishkan, which is the concept of the mishkan of the Beit HaMikdash. Therefore we say Uftuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid maaseh bereshit. Why? Because maaseh bereshit is the same creation pattern as the Mishkan. So you're building it by saying the Shema. Umisham, and from here mikablin atikunot hevel pihem shehein bochet. The Mishkan is built out of the good points of the Jewish people. The little school children receive their undefiled breath of their mouths. So there's a concept that the purest Torah that there is are from children, because they've never done a sin. So as
Don't they have not have the age of 12?
but they're also not judged at that point. Whatever, just for the sake of understanding, they have not sinned yet. Very little children, okay? They don't know what it is. So when they come to learn, there's only good. That's why Kriyat Shema says, "V'shinantam levanecha." You need to teach your children. Why? V'lamdim otam et b'nechem medaber bam. Teach your children to speak them. Why? Because the Kriyat Shema stems primarily from the good that has been refined, which is called your children, that you created. And through this, you bring a unity between Hashem and the Shekhinah. That's the purpose of the Shema, right? We learned in a previous Torah in Likutei Moharan, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. This is the upper unity. This is like Hashem, and then Baruch Shem Kavod Malchut L'Olam Va'ed. This is like the Shekhinah. When you say that, you're making a unity between the two. But you're only able to do that once you find all of the good and you extract it from the bad. Otherwise, we said, what happens? Let's say you have a stain in your clothes, right? You still have bad, so they're separated. You can't really do the Shema.
Hashem and the Shekhinah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's very interesting. It kind of sounds like, again, don't get me wrong, like waste. You extract the good from the bad. Whatever comes out of him, the bad into the body, the good goes there and it creates good points now, the child.
I hear you.
Maybe that's why that's the first mitzvah.
Maybe. So we'll have to see.
Bring more good into us.
We'll have to see. And through this yichud, through this unity between Hashem and the Shekhinah, this is called Mayin Nukvin, right? We know that there's something called Mayin Nukvin and Mayin Duchrin. Mayin Nukvin is feminine waters, which really represents the actions of the Jewish people that causes us to come closer to Hashem. Learning Torah, doing mitzvot, praying to Hashem, doing hipodadut. All of these raise feminine waters. And what happens is, as soon as the feminine water is raised spiritually, it creates a reciprocal effect that now male waters descend, which is Hashem's Shefa into the world. So he's saying that when you create the unity with the Shema based on all the good points you extracted, that's like the highest elevation of feminine waters. All of this comes about by finding those good points, especially in those Jewish people who are very far from Hashem. This is where the highest Mayim Nukvin comes from, to elevate the fallen sparks of Kedusha from the deepest depths of the Klipot. The Shekhinah takes exceptional pride in this. He is most proud of that Jew who has come as far as possible. Right? So let's say a person like us, right? We're very far. We see a person, he's learning and he's doing this, and he's not connected to the physical world at all, and we say, wow, I wish I could be like him. I'm struggling with wasting seed, I'm struggling with jealousy and with anger and with sadness and despair. I have issues with my wife and my kids and my parents. I wish I could just be like that person. He comes from that holy spiritual family. And you see the Shekhinah takes more pride. He's more excited about that good that you're doing, whatever it is. Your attempt to try than all of the work that person's doing. Rabbi Nachman addresses this point a number of times in his writings. As of the Zohar, which we learned, Yitro, right? All of a sudden he comes, he worshipped every form of Avodah Zarah, the Gemara says, the Midrash says, and all of a sudden he says, I realize Hashem is God. And it said that in all of the lower and upper worlds, everybody got up and was like, whoa! Yet when Moshe Rabbeinu came and told the Jews that Hashem is coming to take them out, there's no reverberations in the world. But you have this one guy who was fattening up calves and worshiping them, and all of a sudden he says, I realize Hashem exists, and the entire physical and spiritual universe was lifted up. That's right, that's exactly what we're saying. Not maybe, that's what we're saying. Because that spark of godliness fell to such a low place in Yitro, so as a result, when he Davka said, I realize Hashem exists, that means that spark of godliness had to uplift and elevate from the lowest possible place. And the Shekhinah loves this. As a result of this, Hashem and the Shekhinah are unified, and then Hashem is one, and His name is one, and His name is the Shekhinah. And that's what we're looking forward to, that Hashem and His name are one. This same unity was manifested in the Mishkan. Like the Zohar says, the Mishkan will also be one. Through the Mishkan, all of the good points become encompassed in the unity of Hashem. Right? This is the ultimate goal, that all the Jewish people come together. But what's coming together specifically? Not just that we all come together in Kumbaya, but that we've all worked on ourselves, and we're all bringing that chelek that we worked on, that good that we extracted from the bad in our life, and we're bringing all of that together to Moshe, to the Tzaddik, to Mashiach, and he is bringing it all together, and he's creating a structure out of it, where the Shekhinah can dwell in that good. And then, only after all of this, we begin to say Shemona Esrei. And we say, Hashem, Sefatai Tiftach, open up my lips. Because specifically as a result of all that's been mentioned, that we're able to pray. Having found the good points, having built the Mishkan, having created a yichud between Hashem and the Shekhinah, we can open our mouths to speak words of Kedusha. And this is the main ascent of good, namely that it comes from speech. And this is why we say, Hashem, open up my lips. Let me say the good that I just worked on extracting from the bad. Good, okay? This is Likutei Halachot. Now, I have a special surprise for you guys. Usually we go into Likutei Moran, and we have a brand new Torah we're going to start tonight, which I think you guys are going to be very excited about. I know for me it was very impactful. I know Benny was very much impacted by it.
I don't even know what you're talking about,
yeah? And I'm sure everybody in the group is also gonna. No.
We're going to do different.
We only did that because there was an issue with the video. Well, there's not going to be an issue with the video anymore. No, it's okay. You want to continue? Okay. Just do it as one. It's easier. Okay. So I want to do like this. This Torah was taught right after Rav Nachman taught the first story of the Lost Princess. Okay? According to sources, I feel like I sound like Adam Schefter from ESPN. According to sources, I heard that in fact this Torah is a commentary, is an explanation of the entire Lost Princess. It's a very deep story, but it's a short story, and it's a very powerful story. So I think what we're going to do is every day we're going to do a little bit of the Lost Princess, and then we're going to go into the Torah itself, and we're going to see how they connect. I never did it like this before, but seeing as that they really were connected, I think they'll both open up each other for us. We'll be able to understand more what was going on when he said it. Sure. No problem. Okay. So, Likutei Moran. That is Rav Nachman's magnum opus. This is all of his teachings. Likutei Halachot, this is Rav Natan taking those teachings and explaining all of the laws in the Shulchan Aruch. Now we're going to do Rabbi Nachman's stories. This is called Maaseh Siporim. Okay? Rav Nachman was famous for saying that in the end, it's actually going to be stories which are going to lift out the people who are furthest from Hashem. Okay? Deep in these stories, and anybody who knows these stories and has read commentaries on these stories knows that the deepest secrets of Kabbalah, down to the simplest aspect of Pshat in the Torah, it's all bound up in all of these stories. And they sound like children's stories. And really, the deepest secrets about the origins of the soul of Mashiach and the worlds that they come from, all the way down to our physical world, it's all in here. He made these stories up. But they're real.
They're fictional, like superficially they're fictional, but
they're very real. Yes.
Our life is fictional.
They're very real. So listen to what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe spoke up and he said, while on my journey, I told a story. What was he talking about? It was the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av. He used to go to different towns in Ukraine after Tisha B'Av and to try to mechazek them. Shortly before he told this story, it was the death of his son Shlomo Ephraim, which Rav Nachman later went to say that he believed that his son could have been Mashiach. Okay? So he had this story right after the passing. It's the first time he told the story, so it's very interesting. His son passed away, and he started to tell stories. Okay? He said that whoever heard this story that I told immediately began to do tshuva. Every person that I told this story to immediately began to be stirred to want to be close to Hashem.
It's nothing scary, right, Rabbi?
It's not scary at all.
It's not
Okay,
the party
tshuva means I want to be close to Hashem. Does that sound scary to you?
No, but some people do that because they're in fear. They don't want to.
No, it's not what he's saying. He's saying that your soul is going to wake up because it's sleeping. Okay. So he says like this. We're going to have to dissect it a little bit. There was once a king who had 6 sons, and he had 1 daughter. And this daughter was very precious to him.
Time out before we continue.
No, Benny, you can't interrupt in the middle of the whole class. Thank you. The daughter was very precious to him, and he loved her very much. He spent a lot of time with her. So now we're going to have to just understand all of these different things. It's very, very deep, so please try to stay with me. I know it sounds very, very simple so far. It's not. Okay, who is the king? It's Hashem. Okay. Why is he called the king? Because the king directs his kingdom. He orchestrates and he makes decrees, and those decrees happen. So too, Hashem is not just overseeing what's happening in the world, he is mamish making everything happen. So this is the king, this is Hashem. What's the first step in this plan? So what he's really talking about is the beginning of creation. When Hashem wanted to create the world, we know according to the Arizal, he created a empty space, a chalal panui. We discussed this in the past. He created an empty space because he was everywhere, and if he's everywhere, there's no space for anything to exist, so to speak. So he had to move himself to the side so something else could exist. And he made this empty space. In truth, the space is not really empty. Hashem is still also there. This is a paradox for another time. But this is the beginning of free will, which we're going to learn. Because Hashem is not in that place, so now we can make a choice. Because if Hashem is there and you see him, you don't have a choice anymore. You know. Okay. In this space, what did Hashem do? He created the 7 creative sfirot. Chesed, Gevur, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Okay? They are corresponding to the 7 days of the week. The 6 days of the week and Shabbat. Right? These 6 days are the 6 sons. Okay? These 6 days are the 6 sons, are the 6 Sfirot of Chesed, Gevur, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Their main faculty, why are they called male Sfirot? Because their whole thing is to give. Spiritually, male is giving. So their whole thing is to create and to give, and that's why in the 6 days of the week, we're building our physical and spiritual reality. But on Shabbat, we have to rest from that. Because we're stopping the male energy, and we're going to connect to the female energy of rest, and of absorbing and internalizing everything that we did on Shabbat. This is a female concept. It's to take in and to hold something and to perfect it and to bring it out even better than it was before it started. That's Shabbat. Everybody with me right now so far? Okay. Who is the king in this case? It is the higher three sfirot. Keter, Chochma, Bina. Okay? So you have the king, and he has 6 sons and 1 daughter. So you see this is the 10 sfirot. Everybody with me right now? How do we see that Melech, king, has to do with the top 3 sfirot? Because these 3 letters represent each of the spheres. Mem always is connected to Bina, because it's 40, like 40 seya in the mikveh, right? In the mikveh you're purified, that's Bina. Yeah, Bina is tshuva, Bina is purity, okay? Then you have the Lamed, which represents wisdom, like Lamed, to teach, that's Chochmah. And then you have the Kaf, which is the first letter of Keter. So you have Keter, Chochmah, Bina. They give birth to the 6 sons and the 1 daughter. Good? This daughter was very precious to the king, meaning more so than the sons. That Hashem, so to speak, he loved Malchut, this feminine sphera, more than the other sphirot. Now what's the reason for that? Why was it more precious to him? So we have to understand. The main function of Malchut is to reveal God in the world. So who serves the purpose of creation better than Malchut? In a way, the 6 sons are like a means to an end. Right? They, so to speak, they get us to Shabbat. They build the Shabbat. But Shabbat itself is what reveals God. Malchut itself is what reveals God. So Hashem loves her the most. Are you with me right now? What else is Malchut? Malchut is not just Shabbat. Malchut is the collective soul of the Jewish people. Even though we all have individual souls, we're really all sparks or branches of one root soul, which is called Yisrael. That collective soul of all the Jewish people, the place where all of us have complete unity, is called Malchut as well. It's also called the Shekhinah. Malchut is the Shekhinah, right? People always say, what is the Shekhinah that's in exile? What is this part of God that's with us all the time while we're in exile? So he is all of the Jewish people. The Shekhinah is the souls of all of the Jewish people. And that's why the Shekhinah is in exile, because we're in exile. What else is Malchut? Malchut is Amunah. What's the main faculty which is in exile? Amunah. What are we all struggling with? Faith. Amunah. What is Mashiach going to bring us? Amunah.
Malchut has a lot of meanings.
Yes, Malchut has a lot of functions. I'm going to try to connect them all for you in the end. Okay? Then what else is Malchut? Malchut is also tefillah. It's speech. Okay? Why? Because speech is female. What's the purpose of speaking? To reveal your thoughts. So to speak, the king represents the thoughts of God. And who's his favorite? The mouth. Because she reveals those thoughts. I know this is very deep.
You're explaining it very simple.
It's all, I'm doing good? Okay, good. I'm just making sure. I don't know. Okay.
Basic English.
I know, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Okay. Malchut is also the ability of each Jew to understand the mysteries of Torah. It's not just the Munah that's in exile. It's our ability to understand and to experience the mysteries of the Torah. So Malchut, the feminine quality, also has to do with the mysteries of Torah. Okay. Also, Malchut represents the land of Israel. Malchut is the land of Israel. Right? Right. The land of Israel. What's the land of Israel? Urei Emunah. That's the place that you cultivate Emunah. That's the land. Okay. Who else is Malchut? Mashiach. Mashiach himself is Malchut. Mashiach himself is Malchut. Now it's interesting because what does Rav Nachman teach us? The Mashiach is going to teach the whole world Emunah. He's going to do it through prayer, right? He's going to bring us all back to the land of Israel. He's going to teach the mysteries of the Torah. So you see, it's all really connected. And Hashem loves him the most, so to speak. In a sense, it's like Yisrael loves Yosef the most. Similar concept. Yes, and we're all part of his soul. Very good. In fact, the good in you is Mashiach. This is what we learned before. The good in each of us is Mashiach. Okay. He loved her very much, and he spent a lot of time with her. Why did he love her? Again, because she achieves the purpose of the creation. Why does he love the Mashiach the most? Not because he's special, not because he has superhuman powers. No, not because he's hanging on a cross. This is not why Hashem loves him. Hashem loves him because he reveals God in the world. And that's the purpose of creation. What's the purpose of creation? That Hashem wants to reveal all of the good to something else. That revelation of good comes with the revelation of Da'at, of knowing God. And who teaches the Da'at of Hashem? Mashiach. So therefore he loves him the most, so to speak. He loves that he perfects his world. And he spends the most time with her. We know that the soul of Mashiach was created even before the world. On top of that, we know that the Torah was created before the world was created, and for 2,000 years before. And Hashem, so to speak, was playing and frolicking with the Torah for 2,000 years before the world was created. Meaning what? Very simply, he was creating the sfirot that were above this physical world, above those 7 sfirot, and they're connected to the Torah, Chokhmah Bina Da'at, all the mental faculties that are connected to the. Okay. Now we'll do a little bit more, and then we'll move into Likutei Moharan. One time, he was alone with her on a certain day, and he became angry with her. And he inadvertently said, may the one who's not good at all take you away. Okay? May the one who's not good take you away. So what is this? This is the concept of tzimtzum. We know that after Hashem created the sfirot, there was a tzimtzum, a contraction, where Hashem shined his light through the sfirot, and they broke. And so to speak, Hashem removed that light. That was like when Hashem told his daughter, or the king told the daughter, he was mad at her, and he said, I want you to go away to the one who's no good. Meaning the forces of the dark side, the klipot. Those sfirot broke, and then Hashem eventually reassembles them. Okay?
How do we not have that? How do we have it that we're not going to have Tzimtzum or whatever it is?
We all have to go through tzimtzum.
I mean, like,
stop being so nervous. Everything is good. Everything Hashem does is for the good. I know you have to stop worrying about it.
It's not an all or nothing type of thing.
Yeah, you have to have emunah in Hashem that everything Hashem does is for the best, and you don't need to fear anything besides Him.
You're like J.G. Wentworth. It's my
Why break the world?
Very good question. If Hashem is perfect, why break the sfirot? Why can't He just make it perfect the first
What
time?
does that mean that not good will take you away if you know everything Hashem is good?
Right. Yeah. So the answer is this created free will. The breaking of the vessels created the illusion that Hashem didn't exist. Because when Hashem's light is removed from the scene, His presence is removed from the scene, so now you don't feel Him. Like if you were able to really experience how much Hashem is here right now, you would blow out of your body. No, I'm serious. You wouldn't be able to move. You would freeze and you wouldn't function. And you pass out on the floor.
Like a seizure?
Yes. So what does Hashem do? What does Hashem do? He constricts His light, so He's only revealing Himself to you wherever you're holding.
Wherever you're what?
Wherever you're holding. So the guy who's going to the clubs and he's going to the bars, he doesn't see Hashem at all. But the tzaddik, like the Baba Sali, who has refined himself and purified himself, and he goes to the mikveh every day, multiple times a day, and he's not looking at women, and he's learning Torah all day and night, and he's bringing people back to Hashem, so he's mamish living with Hashem, and that's why his eyes were bugging out of his head. So I'm explaining to you, you choose how close you are to Hashem.
You ever realize with people that are very, very with kedusha, you can't even look at their eyes. Their eyes look a little bit, not weird, but scary.
Glossy.
Why is it? Rabbi, there it is like that. My rabbi from Israel passed away.
It's hard to look at the
it's because they see Hashem. They're seeing Hashem.
My heart started racing when I saw my rabbi's eyes.
Well, you don't feel like that, Rabbi Kalamus?
Not holding there yet. Not holding there yet. I wish I could make my eyes go like this right now. I don't know how to do that. just for effect.
We have that visual effect of the cameras.
I could do like the Rock eyebrow. I don't know. Okay. So now, why do they break? Because this creates the appearance that Hashem is missing. He's not there. And this allows you to have free will, and that you're not overwhelmed by Hashem in your life, and He's exactly where you're holding. Tzimtzum, it gives you free will. Okay? This is the shattering of the vessels. Now, Chazal teach that there was 10 sayings of creation, right? But we know that there was an 11th statement after that. What was the 11th statement after that? It's not good for man to be alone. So you notice, what does Rav Nachman say in the story? He says to her, may the one who's not good take you. Which is Satan. Meaning that Malchut goes into exile, Muna goes into exile, Tefillah goes into exile, Mashiach goes into exile, Eretz Yisrael goes into exile. All one thing. The soul of the Jew goes into exile. What?
Parallelisms.
Yes, all these parallelisms. Yes, that's actually not, that's in a Webster's dictionary. It's like a hologram.
Similar. Yeah.
What? No?
No, similar concept.
I thought we were like connecting, no?
No, like Yaakov, Torah, parallelism.
Yeah. Yes. Bechina this, bechina that.
AKA.
Yeah, bechina that. Because we're going to talk about it right now, but where did Hashem find David, who's Mashiach? Sdom. What was Sdom? It was the darkest, filthiest place. The Baal Shem Tov explains the higher a person's soul, the lower it falls.
It seems to be like a recurring theme.
Yes. I'm glad you're finally starting to get that.
The topic comes from like a place of garbage.
Why are you guys all scared?
The lower you fall, Muslim.
What do you mean, Mazeh? Look at you.
Smell it.
It doesn't mean the lower you fall, meaning you're going to go, like your life is going to be horrible. It means
saying you find them in a low
it means
place.
you're going to find them in a place
Find diamonds.
Like
far,
you can find
far
tzaddiks
from
in the
Hashem.
city.
Balei Tshuva. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but where do you find a diamond? And if you knew,
You find it in the Raf.
Mames. No pun
So you're
intended.
just saying you find a holy person in a place of
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
if a person doesn't know, I'm about to get my white shirt dirty, then yeah, he's gonna suffer. But if he's like, oh my god, I'm about to make a gajillionaire, he's gonna go in there and swim. You know what I'm
Yeah, he's
saying?
going to get out. It's all good.
Take me there.
You should be happy right now. I don't know why you keep getting nervous with every comment that I'm saying.
Kabbalah is the rabbi.
I know, but this is very simple. Don't worry, it's all good.
You're not gonna look like Huh?
Okay, so we need to all take a break from our commentaries on the side. Okay, so now if the Malchut went into exile, meaning Hashem said to her, "May the one who's not good take you away," so that should reflect itself on each day of creation. So I want to show you something amazing that Rav Aryeh Kaplan says. You'll notice on the first day of creation, Hashem created the light and He created the dark, but it didn't say Yud Kei Vav Kei or Elohim created the dark. It says He created the dark. He didn't associate His name with the dark. No? Didn't get it?
No, I got it. Who was it? He concealed his name?
He concealed His name there, meaning the Malchut is in exile. That's the first day. Second day, what happens?
Wait, can you repeat that again?
Again, if you look in the Torah, you're going to see it says that Elohim says and it was. Elohim says and it was. But it says that He created the darkness. It doesn't say Elohim or Hashem or anything. He.
Referring to the Sitra.
No, it means Hashem did, but He did it in a way that was hidden. He concealed Himself in that place. He doesn't want His name associated or revealed there. That's why it's dark.
It's only dark because his name's not there.
Yes. Okay. Second day, what happens? We know that there is upper waters and lower waters. And the Midrash says the lower waters cried. That's the concept of the Malchut going into exile. What happened on the third day? The fruit was supposed to give taste to the tree, but it didn't, and the fruit is always feminine. So that was an exile of the feminine there on the third day. What happened on the fourth day? The moon was reduced, right? The sun is the male aspect.
You're saying every
And
day Malchut is being reduced?
Yes, is being contracted and going into exile. The moon is reduced. What happens on the fifth day? Leviathan, which was the female, like primordial amphibian, fish or reptile, whatever, it was killed. Meaning Malchut in exile. Again, same thing. No, it was killed.
No, the male was killed.
No.
The female's still around.
No, female was killed.
They were supposed to eat it on bison.
Okay, so you have to kill it and you have to cook it up and eat it. Okay, sixth day. Sixth day, Chava sins. She's the female in the story.
How is he was killed if the Torah says that Hashem plays with it? He created it to play with it.
So there's a male Leviathan and there's a female
Yeah,
Leviathan.
the female.
Yeah, the female was killed.
Oh, the female's alive. You didn't mention that.
Yeah.
You said one died.
Female died.
Alright.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so you see on each of the 6 days, Malchut goes into exile on each day. Okay. So, now, at night,
Yeah, that's a serious wrong.
okay, so also you see this goes on even after the beginning of creation. What happens? The Beit HaMikdash is destroyed. The Jews are sent into exile from the land of Israel. Land of Israel is occupied by other people. This is also a concept of the Malchut in exile. This is all the concept of the lost princess in exile. Everybody with me? Let's say you have a Jew who doesn't know he's Jewish, right? He's raised by secular parents. He doesn't know anything about tefillin or Shabbat. He's the lost princess. They're all the lost princess. We're all the lost princess. Okay? Good. At night, she went to her room. Why night? Because night is the time of the klipot. In the morning, no one knew where she was. Meaning what? So we learn Malchut went into exile. Kabbalistically, she descended into a lower world, whatever. So she was no longer in the world where Hashem was the greatest, right? Went to a lower world. Nobody, he couldn't find her. He went there looking for her.
You mean like this world?
Kind of. Yes.
She went from there here?
Yeah. There we're going to stop. We're going to pick it back up tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, okay? Yes. They're all very serious stories. Okay. We're going to start an amazing Torah now, which Rav Nachman, by the way, I taught this to my son in the morning, not with all the commentary, just like the story. He loved it. It's an amazing thing. Benny also taught his kid. His kid loves the story. Tell your kid the story. I'm telling you, he's going to love it. I don't know why. They like every Jewish boy.
They're also not like that simple.
Yes.
You know, I think they're fixated.
Without the comment. Okay, I guess I'll just give you the simple version next
I
time.
think it's because they're fixated on this idea with
The whole thing is very...
Okay.
Okay.
They're fixated on
Yeah, okay. This is Torah Samech. 60. Okay, so we need a little bit of background here. Rav Nachman gave this Torah on Rosh Hashanah in 1806. Okay, his Rosh Hashanah Torahs are very powerful, and almost all of them are recorded since the time Rav Natan was with him. There's about 10 of them. So this is one of them. Every year he gave a major discourse on Rosh Hashanah. It lasted for hours and hours and hours and hours. Rav Natan remembered it because you couldn't write. It was Yom Tov, and he remembered the whole thing. He'd write the whole thing through and bring it to Rav Nachman. After, they did the same thing by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He used to give speeches on Shabbat, and then, it actually used to be of Jacobson. What's his name? Y.Y. Jacobson.
That was him?
That was his job. When he was a kid, he had to memorize the whole thing and not forget it. So he would listen to it, memorize the whole thing, and then and you could see why. By the way, he's a genius.
He is.
Right?
He speaks.
It's amazing. But part of the reason he's so brilliant is because he worked on his memories so much by remembering all these sikhas that the Rebbe gave. Okay?
Yeah, this is a big one.
Okay. So when he...
Do you have space or should I record?
He's good. When he gave this Torah, the Chassidim who came to him They would make an extra effort to do tshuva on Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because they know Rav Nachman, Rosh Hashanah is the most important thing in the world. You can be cleansed of everything. I can do a tikkun for you on everything. So this is like the most intense day of the year for all of them. Okay? And on this particular Rosh Hashanah, as Rav Nachman was making his final preparations, there was an incredible sense of awe, an incredible sense of yearning for Hashem that could be felt throughout the room. It was like palpable. There was this like energy, this tenseness, this whatever. And many of those who were there felt like they had been sleeping their whole lives until they got to that point. How am I only feeling this spiritual eruption now that like I want to be so close to Hashem, I want to do tshuva, almost like I was sleeping before that. The Rebbe later included this question in his lesson, explaining it as sleeping away one's life spiritually, meaning not really serving Hashem. When he said, "Wake up, you sleepers, from your slumber," right? He said that to his students. "Wake up, you sleepers, from your slumber." They all started to cretch and to moan and to cry hysterically. Wake up. And the Rebbe had to wait a long time before they all stopped crying before he can actually give the teaching. Afterwards, those who were present realized as part of the preparations, the Rebbe had been working to actually rectify all of their souls and awaken them to yearn to Hashem. This is why all of them felt these deep feelings of tshuva. So you already see a connection between this and the story. He said, everybody I told this story to did tshuva. You see, this whole Rosh Hashanah thing is about being close to Hashem. Rav Nachman said after giving this lesson, this was a beautiful wedding. It would have been right to actually invite Hashem and all of the Malachim as well. Rav Natan said to him, it must have been that they were there. And Rav Nachman said, yeah, you're probably right. He also said, I could have told this Torah and extended it for 3 days and you wouldn't know the difference between night and day. Okay. You'd be so invested in this Torah that I'm going to teach you that all night and day, not one of you will be able to know the difference about what time of the day it is.
All of them were married, correct?
I don't know why you have to do the all, always. I'm not sure all of them were married. I'm assuming they weren't all married. Okay. Afterwards, Rav Nachman said a very famous statement. Today I said things, they're going to be in this Torah. Today I said things that are completely against what the world teaches. 1, people say stories help you fall asleep, and I say stories help wake you up. 2, people say that speech can't make somebody pregnant, and I say that speech can make women pregnant. What type of speech is this? What type of speech are we talking about over here? He says, I say that telling stories that awakens people to tshuva actually causes women to become pregnant. Saying there's like a spiritual mechanism, so to speak. When you awaken a person who's very far from Hashem to do tshuva, all of a sudden there's a Jewish woman who conceives and becomes pregnant. Lastly, people say that the truly great tzaddik does not need much money. But I say he needs to be filthy rich. And I didn't say that. But he says, I say that there is a certain level of contemplation of the Torah that requires very great wealth. And this is part of what the Torah is going to be about.
Who does that wealth go to?
1 second. You have to stop talking, Benny. Rav Nachman says in this Torah that despite in past Torahs where Rav Nachman says you have to hate the desire for money, right? It's connected avodah zara if you want money for the sake of money. All those things are for the sake of money. But we're going to learn now that there is a kedusha to money, and specifically it allows you to open up a level of Torah understanding that you can't have without the money. Good. Now, he brings and he starts with, obviously, a Zohar. The Idra Rabba Kadisha. There are 2 aspects or sections of the Zohar that are very, very deep, have a lot of secrets of the Zohar. One of them is called the Idra Rabba Kadisha, and one meaning the big gathering, and the other one's called the small gathering. What are these different Idra Kadishas? The Rashbi, who is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right, when the Romans came, he had to leave with his son. They went into exile because they went to kill all of them. So there's obviously famous stories about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son, that they stayed in a cave for 13 years. They learned Torah the entire time. They buried themselves in sand so that their clothes wouldn't become stained. And only when they went to pray did they put their clothes on. Otherwise, they learned under the sand. They only ate carobs the entire time. There was a tree that Hashem planted for them over there because he knew they wouldn't survive. They ate carobs for 13 years. Carobs. It's like I don't know. It's a little thing that comes off a tree. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. When he came out, he ended up having all the secrets of the Zohar, right? He was the one who wrote the Zohar with his students. His students, whenever they taught, they would gather in a circle of 10. Sounds familiar? 10 students? 10 Sfirot?
10 students here.
What?
We have 10 students here.
Oh yeah? Okay. So like this, the Rashbi sat his disciples down and he said, how much longer can we go on speaking, you have to focus with me for a second to understand, how much longer can we go on speaking about the Sfirot like they originally were, where the Zohar explains that they were all in a straight line, right? Whenever I drew you the Sfirot, you saw them in 3 columns. So that's not the way they originally were. Before they broke, they were in a straight line. That was part of the reason. It's okay. That was part of the reason why they couldn't hold the light. However, after they broke, Hashem he fixed them, and then he reconfigured them in 3 columns. And because now they're in a system that works together, they can hold the light of Hashem. So he says, woe to me if I reveal the deep mysteries of the Sfirot, and woe to me if I don't. Meaning I'm in a pickle right now. I know that I have to, and yet I know maybe you guys are not ready for it. So his students said back to him, but all of us have Yirat Hashem. We all fear Hashem, and we've all been found worthy. And consenting to reveal the mysteries, Rashbi had his disciples all join hands. You want to do it? And vow that they would never take literally the teachings that he was about to teach them. Meaning, when he's teaching about the Sfirot and the Partsufim, the faces, and all of these things, it's not literal. You cannot take these teachings literally. They are only so that you can understand. So what happens? Petach Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon opened. V'amar, and he said, Eit lasot laHashem. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, it is a time to do for Hashem. And the student said back, Amai et lasot Hashem. Why is this a time to do for Hashem? Mishum deheferu Toratecha. Because your children are leaving your Torah. What is he speaking about? So he's going to explain that it's a time to do for Hashem, meaning it's a time to reveal the secrets of the Torah. It's a time to reveal the Zohar. It's a time to reveal Kabbalah. It's a time to do that for Hashem. Why? Because the children are leaving. They're disconnecting from the Torah, and they need it. Why are they leaving the Torah? Torah, and what Torah are they leaving? Torah dil Ela. They're leaving the supernal Torah. Meaning what? The mysteries of Torah. The Malchut, in exile, Kabbalah. The Ihid Mitbatla. And it would be nullified ila litavi b'tikunaza, if Hashem did not rectify those Sfirot. Meaning, when the light destroyed the vessels, as a result of that, it could be that the mysteries of Hashem were never revealed because Malchut went to exile. But because he fixed those Sfirot, so now it's possible. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his students believed, and Rabbi Shimon said this explicitly, that we are like human manifestations of those 10 Sfirot. And he would actually set up the table that there was him in the middle, and his son was on his right side, and his other student was on his left side, and they represent the 3 columns. Okay. Yes. Ulatik Yomin Itmar. What is this higher Torah? What is this mysteries of the Torah? It's called Atik Yomin. So we need to understand, what is Atik Yomin? there are different spiritual worlds, right? We have the lowest world, which is our world. It's called Asiya, the world of action. Above this, we have the world of Yetzirah, which is the world of formation, which is the world of the Malachim. That's where the Malachim exist. Then we have the world of Bria. That's the world of creation. That's where the Kisei Kavod is. That's the world of souls. Then we have the world of Atzilut, which is the highest world, so to speak. And this is where the Sfirot are. Now, there is a place which is higher than this, which is called Arich Anpin. Okay? This is called the unknowable head. It's so high, we barely know anything about it. But we do know that the highest level of Arich Anpin, right. No, Keter is Arich Anpin. So the highest level of Keter is the Keter of Keter, meaning the crown of crown. The highest level of all the spiritual universes is called Atik Yomin, Ancient of Days. And we know that the soul of Mashiach is originating in that place. And this is the reason why Mashiach is able to redeem the whole world and nobody else can, because his soul doesn't originate in the world of souls or even in the place of Atzilut. It originates in the Keter of Keter. What's the difference? The higher you up or the lower down you go? The lower down you go, the more separated everything becomes. The higher up you go, the more unified everything becomes. By the time you get to Atzilut, everything is one. And by the time you get to the Keter of Keter, it's such a unity that there's nothing there. And that's the origin and the root of the soul of Mashiach. It comes from that place. So how is Mashiach going to take a world that's completely separate, where there's no peace in the world, right? Where nobody's connected, where nobody sees the good? How is he going to reveal all the good and bring us all together? Because he comes from that place. That's all he can see. There's a pasuk, it says, happy are you, Jewish people, right? Who is like you? But there's another pasuk that we say, Mi kamocha be'elokim, right? Who is like you, Hashem? What is this, who is like you? So we learn that Ashrei actually means Keter, the mysteries of Torah, whenever it says Ashrei. So Ashrei, who is like you, the Jews, who can understand the mysteries of the Torah? And who is like you, Hashem, that you can reveal the mysteries of the Torah? That's Ashrei. So this is the beginning. Then it says like this. Kara Rabbi Elazar, Berei Odvei Kamei, the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai sat at the right of him. Rabbi Abba Mesitra Achra. And Rabbi Abba sat on the opposite side. V'amar Anan Klala Dechola. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, we are the encompassment of all things. What does that mean? It means the whole creation, which is encompassed within the 10 Sfirot, is really right here. It's all encompassed in us. Ad kan itkanu kayamim. The rectifications have been effected. Meaning he's saying now the mysteries can come out. Ishtiku. They all fell completely silent because they realized Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was about to reveal all the deepest mysteries of the Torah. Shama kala, and they all heard a voice from Shemaim. Va'arku batan da ledan nakshan. They all became so scared that their knees began to knock together. Now you can get scared. My kala, what was the voice that they heard? Kala dichnufya ila'a lamit kanfei. They were hearing the Shekhinah and the Malachim coming down to hear what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was about to reveal to his students. This is the Zohar. Simple, Pshat, Rashi. Okay, now it's going to get much simpler, okay? Rav Nachman is going to say, Da, you should know, like he starts many of his Torahs. Da, you should know. Sheyesh vilei Torah. There are many paths of Torah, but there are certain paths. Shehem, sheyesh behem itbonenut gadol ma'od. They require very deep contemplation, right? Sometimes you can learn Torah, and it's very simple. You can just understand. I teach you halacha, you get it. You don't have to think too deeply about it. You read Rashi, it's very simple. You read a pasuk, right? You say Tehillim, simple. You don't need intense, deep contemplation. But there are certain parts of the Torah that require very deep, very intense, very Concentrated concentration. But it's impossible to come to this level of contemplation without wealth. Okay? You cannot get to the level of understanding the deepest parts of the Torah without being wealthy, Rav Nachman says.
It's not in our hands, all right.
Okay, he's not saying that you have it doesn't mean you now have to go get the money. He's just saying this is a fact. This is a spiritual fact. And we're gonna work with this. We're gonna try to understand why this is, okay? The level of Torah that we have right now is called the Torah of Zer Anpin, the small face. Okay, we don't have to understand what that is right now. It's one of the lower partsufim. This is the revelation of that Torah. That's what Moshe revealed to us. Mashiach is going to reveal the Torah of Arach Anpin, which is called extended face, which means Atik Yomin. It's all the mysteries of the Torah, the deepest mysteries of the Torah. Okay? Now, for us, the amount of wealth that we have suffices for us to understand what we need to from the Torah right now. But when all the deepest mysteries of the Torah come, right, we're going to need more money to understand those deeper mysteries, Rav Nachman says. This is the real reason why we learn that when Mashiach comes, everyone's going to be wealthy. It's not just because Mashiach comes, there's peace, everybody has everything they need. It's because you're going to need that wealth to understand the revelations that Mashiach is going to try and teach you.
Is it physical wealth or
Physical wealth. Physical wealth.
ready?
People now will have this wealth instead.
So he's saying that now, if you are holding by this level of Torah and you have that wealth, you're going to be able to learn deeper. Okay? But we're going to have to find out there is a spiritual element to the wealth. Rav Natan's going to speak about that. We're going to have to deal with the fact that Rav Nachman was not himself wealthy. Right? Whatever, we'll get to it, okay? Rav Nachman? Not sure. So it says like this. Where do we learn this from? Because we know when it comes to the simple aspect of Torah, the most simple understanding of the Torah, im ein kemech ein Torah. There's no Torah without wheat, which we know means jangi, money. Okay? Jangi. Ding. Oh, dang. Okay? There is no Torah without Parnusa, which is every Sephardi's favorite line. Why I need to go to work? Why I can't go learn? Okay? Because we need. Okay. And Rav Nachman saying, if that's just to understand the simple part of Torah, how much more so the mysteries of Torah? Okay. We have to understand, why do you need money to understand Torah? So on a simple level, Rashi explains, because if you don't have money, then you don't have food, and if you're hungry, you can't learn. Very simple. Rabbeinu Yonah, right? He wrote the famous book on Tshuva. So he says the reason it says this is because if you don't have money, then you have to go work, and if you're working, you're not learning. It's very simple. So therefore, why do you need the money? Not because the money is going to open up a part of your brain, but because if you have money, now you can sit and learn. It's very simple.
Especially if it's homemade bread. She'll support each other.
Okay. And regardless, right? Let's say you don't have wealth. You still need some level of parnasa to learn. Because otherwise you're going to have to go work. And if you have to work, you can't be learned. So regardless whether you have a lot of wealth or you just have a little bit of money, you still need kemach to start learning. Like such, for this level of contemplation, shehu gadol ma'od, that is very great that we're about to speak about, tzarich she'eh lo ashiut gadol ma'od. You're going to need incredible wealth to be able to learn these depths of Torah. She'lo. So I want to say like this. What is bonanut? What is this contemplation? Right? We know that by Chabad, the Baal Tanya, he was very big not in hibodadut, but in hibonanut. Not to seclude yourself, but to contemplate. Move. Not like that. But to contemplate very, very deeply. Okay. The Ramchal, who's a very great Kabbalist, he speaks about this in Mashar Yeshua. By the way, there's a little plug, by the way. I teach a Maseret Yesharim class on Sundays. You guys should come. Sunday mornings. So he says like this. There's a meditative technique called Hidbonanut, which one involves intense concentration on a concept or an object. People do this by Hashem's names. They'll just focus on a name. Which is essential, he says, for attaining traits of self-improvement that lead to enlightenment. Meaning, how do I engage in self-improvement and I work on my anger and my eating habits and my sadness and all of this? He says through this thing called Hibonanut, through deep contemplation of Torah concepts. And you think about it. Think about the concept. You just focus deeply on the concept. You think about it, how it plays out in your life and all the different avenues and the different paths of it and whatever. Just focus on it. So you do Hibonanut within the Hibonanut.
So it's like when you pray.
It's a Hibonabota, dude. What?
So it's like when you pray Hashem's name, you think about Hashem's name.
Right, but you think about Hashem's name in your head, so to speak. When you think about it long enough, it makes an impression in your heart, any Torah concept, and it helps you work on your midot. This is what he says in the Maseret Yesharim. And he says, the understanding is going to imprint itself on your mind through constant hibonanut and deep reflection, since it's removed from our senses, our mind, and our intellect formulates it only after considerable concentration. Whatever, he's just saying that there's a meditative technique, hibonanut, you focus deeply on a topic, right, okay. So he says like this, Shi'eh lo hon rav. What type of wealth does he need to understand the deepest parts of Torah? He must possess bounteous riches. V'lo techsar kol ba, where he doesn't lack anything at all. Okay, not much you need. Ki tzarich kol hon da alma. He needs all the money in the world. And then he's going to be able to contemplate what I'm talking about. Okay. He's probably going to be able to do a lot more than that also, right? Okay. Rav Natan says, Rav Nachman didn't have so much money, so what is he talking about? So he says like this. The wealth, he thinks he's referring to something he speaks about in Likutei Moharan Torah Mem. He speaks about something called Shefa Kafula, double Shefa. We know that when Adam Arishon was cursed, right? What was the curse? That his work for his money and his toiling for that money would be doubly as difficult as childbirth. So Rav Natan said what he's referring to here is the level of wealth that you need to, so to speak, rectify that double. Right? Also, it says that in a midrash that not one person is going to have half his desires met by the time he passes away. So it's pretty much saying don't run after money because it's a vain game. You're not going to get from it. You're going to end up only achieving half of what you want. Okay? So where do we learn this from? What do we learn? What do we see in the Torah that money and ability to deeply contemplate have any connection whatsoever? I don't remember seeing that in the Torah. Uvnei Yisachar, the children of Yisachar, shaya lehem zot hibonanut. They were known for this hibonanut, like it says clearly in the Torah. Umnibnei Yisachar yodei vina. The children of Yisachar, they knew bina, right? They knew the mysteries of Torah. Right? What does Rashi explain that this means that they knew bina? Two things. One is that they were always capable of giving you the right eitzah. What is like the most practical reflection of a person that he has very deep wisdom? He gives you good advice. The children of Yisachar, no matter when you came to them, no matter what it was about, they had the right eitzah for you. So that was a reflection of their very deep knowledge in Torah. Two, Rashi explains who is in charge of the intercalation of the calendar, meaning that you had to connect the different movement of the spheres in the celestial world, the stars and the moon and the sky and the sun and all those things, and connect it with the Chagim so it works out with the calendar every year. Who did that fall on? The children of Yisachar. And according to Rav Nachman, the concept of intercalation is really referring to the mysteries of Torah, meaning only they were holding on to the mysteries of Torah. Lo zachu lezeh, but they didn't merit to this, Ki im al yedei ashirut, only through wealth. Only because they were all wealthy. Like it says, Yisachar chamor garem. When Yaakov blessed Yisachar, he said, you're like a strong boned donkey. What did Rashi say that means? A donkey is known for its ability to carry a heavy load. And a strong boned donkey can carry the heaviest load of all the animals. What's the heavy load he's referring to? Torah. Yisachar was able to hold the load of Torah that they were able to learn Yom V'Laila, and they were able to hold up under that load. That's why they were called the strong-boned donkey. And Targum Onkelos explains, what does it mean he was a strong-boned donkey? What's the simple understanding of this? Atir b'nichsin. He was abound with possessions, physical possessions. So Nachman's saying, you see from here, the fact that he's a strong-boned donkey, his ability to hold the yoke of Torah came from the fact that he was so wealthy.
He said in the Bible that strong feet, meaning strong bones, is like a...
Is money.
It's like a wall.
Is wealth. Very good. We said it's like the woman, right? Right.
He was the one that learned all day, or he was the one that supported his brother?
No, he was the one who learned all day. But Al Ken Moshe, listen to this, what he says. Therefore Moshe, B'chol Nevi'im, and every single prophet that ever lived, Hayal lehem hashiyut gadol ma'od. They were all filthy rich. He said Moshe and all of the prophets were all incredibly wealthy. Kedei lavo al yedei bonanut azot. Why were they all so wealthy? Only so they can understand the deepest Torah. He's saying it's not because they wanted money. They didn't care about money. But because they wanted to understand the deepest aspects of Torah and reveal it to the Jewish people, so they must have the most amount of money that you need. And because of this deep level and contemplation of Torah that they were doing, Al ken nikreya Torah hon. Therefore the sages call the Torah wealth. They call it hon. It's literally called wealth. It's called money. Why? Because you can't understand Torah without kemach. Right, so on a simple understanding, if you don't have parnasa, you're going to be worried about how you're going to make your money, so that even if you are sitting down, you're not really going to be able to learn. And all the more so, you want to learn something that takes a lot of contemplation, you're going to have to be very focused, you're going to have a lot of yishuv da'at. Who is able to do that? Only someone who's not worried about providing for his family.
You just say the more money you have involved you are with your money, you make more money and then
Okay, good. But we're not talking about the making of the money. We're just talking about having money.
Didn't you say that passive income?
We're not even talking about, we're not even speaking about their jobs. We're simply saying the higher the level of the Torah that you want to contemplate, you need more money.
What about broke people?
I understand. So we're going to have to understand, what does it mean? So according to Rav Natan, this wealth is not a physical wealth that he's speaking about. As the Torah goes on, we're going to have to understand, what is this wealth that he's speaking about. We'll see. Very simple level, it means Jangi Parnusa. Bezrat Hashem, we're going to continue tomorrow. It's going to become more clear. It's a long Torah, you're going to have to stick with me, but it's an amazing Torah. You guys are really going to connect to it, Bezrat Hashem.